Okay guys, at this point you should have both legs kind of rigged out, and if we move the hips he should be able to, well, he's getting a little bow-legged there. That's okay, we got knee controls to fix that. Alright, so he should be squat, squat, squat. Alright, perfect. So let's set up the whole arm rig in one go real quick. Nothing new here. Maybe one little new thing with the Orient constraint we'll be doing for the wrist. But everything else will be creating IK controls and using set-driven keys to get our fingers twisting the right way. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. First thing I'm going to do is create my hand controls. So let's go to Create, NURBS, and Circle. I'm going to draw a circle around that wrist. Snap it to my, let me hide this mesh. Snap it to my actual wrist joint I have made. We'll scale it down a little bit. Perfect. So let's freeze these transformations and let's start adding some custom attributes for our arm control. So I go to Modify, Add Attribute, and we're going to create a elbow twist, and it's going to be a float, and -10 will twist the elbow in, +10 will twist it out, default setting at 0 for the initial bind pose. We'll add it. Elbow twist initiated. Now we're going to have a thumb curl, and this will be a minimum of 0, a maximum of 10, a default of 0, add it. Index curl, oh not burl curl, I'm crazy. Set a minimum of 0, maximum of 10, default of 0, and we'll add that in. Thumb curl, index curl, and we'll call this the pinky curl. We only have 3 fingers on this guy. I made it a little bit easy, so we have to create so many set-driven keys. And so minimum 0, maximum 10, default 0. Boom. These are all going to be all the controls we're going to need for our hand here. Alright, so we have NURB circle 1. Let's go ahead and call this arm left control. And then let's do that whole duplicate thing over so we can save time by duplicating a control handle that has all these custom attributes made. So I'll go to Modify. I'll reset the transformation to get my pivot point back in the middle of the grid. I'll duplicate my arm control. This will be a good time to rename it arm right control. I'll go to my scale X, set it to -1, and then I'll freeze that transformation on that new right arm control. And then we're going to take our pivot points, press insert or home on the keyboard, and we'll just snap them to our wrist bone. Snap that to the wrist bone. Alright, great. So our arm controls are all set up and ready to be taken for a spin. But first, before we can go on that spin that we're going to take, let's go and set up an arm IK system. Alright, last time for the flower stack we just used a simple FK forward kinematic rotation on the shoulder joint to kind of mimic some arm actions. Now we're going to have rig a fully articulated arm. So we're basically going to treat the arm like a leg, and we're going to create an IK from the shoulder to the wrist. So let's go to Skeleton, IK Handle Tool, and let's go to the extra options, just so we make sure that we have an RP solver. That way we can get a nice twist action for my elbow. So with my cursors across here, is now asking me to draw out the start and end point. So we're going to start at the shoulder and go all the way down to our wrist here. Alright, and again I need to come on and show IK handles in my show menu over here. That way we can see which way my elbow's pointing and everything's looking good so far. Alright, so we don't have too much work to do, not like what we did with our leg. So let's just go in and let's name that IK handle to arm left IK, and it's an RP, rotate pivot solver. So arm left IK RP. Great name for it. I already like it. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and set up our hand pivot, but we're going to do a different kind of constraint for this boy. If we just do a regular parent constraint to the control handle to the IK handle, we'll just do a stereotypical parent constraint. Now that we have, see that we have great, arm movement. His elbow kind of stays in place and we can kind of twist it. But if we want to rotate our hand, We're not getting much rotation. We're not getting any rotation out of our wrist. So what we need to do is we need to go back and undo that parent constraint here. So follow closely, because we're going to be doing a little bit different constraining here. So I am going to select my arm control, and I am going to select my IK handle secondly. Remember, the parent, and then you select that child second. So this time we're going to go to my parent constraint and click on my extra options. This will bring up the parent constraint menu, and we're going to uncheck rotate. The only thing we want to parent is the translations. Okay, so we'll add that. And as we can see, now we have that translation that we like. Okay, but what we need to do now is we need to constrain our arm control to our actual wrist bone, so we can use our control handle to rotate the actual bone on our rig here. So let's grab our, I'm going to hit Q to go into cursor mode. So I'm going to grab my arm control here, and then I'm going to hold down Shift and select my wrist bone. So we can just reveal selected, right click, reveal selected, and now we see I have my wrist left joint selected. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to do an Orient constraint. Orient kind of helps you with constraining stuff just the rotation. So we're going to reset our settings, and the only thing we're going to tweak here is we're going to maintain offset. Make sure you have maintain offset selected. Our wrist won't rotate, or won't rotate correctly if you don't. And we're just going to hit apply and close it. So now when I rotate my hand control, my wrist bone follows it, and if I move it around, it follows around with my IK handle. So now we got a pretty cool little skeleton moving his little arms around. Isn't that cute? Alright, so that's part of the battle done. Alright, so what we need to do now is we need to do some set driven keys to link up our elbow twist and our finger curls. Alright, so we'll just come over here. I'm going to come and maybe minimize that. I'll keep it open because we're probably going to be selecting our finger joints in this manner. So I'm going to expand my wrist. Let me expand, and we have all of my finger controls here. So I'm just going to expand them all. I'll be using them in the future. Alright, great. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to animate, set driven key, and set. So let's bring up my set driven key menu, and I'll bring over my rig so we can see it a little bit in this little sliver of real estate we have on this oh so small laptop screen. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to do some set driven keys for my elbow twist. So we're going to select my control handle as the driver. There we go, arm left control. And there's my good old elbow twist. And now we need to select my driven, which is going to be my arm IK. So I'm just going to go down here and select that little IK handle there. And I'm going to load driven. And our twist is what we want, because our twist is going to control our elbow twist right there. See how we got it going on? Alright. Let's set that twist back to the default value, which was 0. Alright. And so our twist for our elbow is 0, and our elbow twist attribute is at 0. I have elbow twist selected in my driver, and my twist selected in my driven, and we're just going to key that initial value. So we're going to grab my driver now. Let's set my elbow twist to -10. Let's grab my arm IK here, and let's set that twist value to I don't know, something like that. So my elbow's twisted inwards. Move, maybe too much. Alright, there we go. Just get your elbow twisted in. It doesn't look natural in this pose, but trust me, it'll be useful in the future. Alright, great. So now we're just going to key those values together. Next I'm going to select my arm control. Let's set my elbow twist to +10 now. Let's select my arm IK, and let's set my twist to something a little bit more positive. So my elbow's pointing outwards. Alright, not too much. Something like that maybe, where your elbow's pointing this way. Instead of back, we want it pointing outwards from the body. And we're just going to key that. So now I have a nice elbow twist in my arm. Perfect. And we'll set that at 0. Go back to that bind pose. So let's set my finger curls up now. Okay. So I'm going to go down to thumb curl, And I'm going to select all the bones in my finger chain. So I'm going to select that bone, and that bone. So if I look at my outliner, thumb A, B, and C are selected. With these multiple joints selected, I can load to driven, and it brings up every single joint in my joint chain. I'm going to click and drag to select them all. And then we're going to be changing our rotate values on all fingers, so we'll just select all my rotate values. So now we have every single rotate value on every single thumb joint selected. So my thumb curl should be at 0, and all my rotate values on my thumb joints should be at their default pose. And we're just going to key that. So we've just keyed our default pose. Perfect. And let's set my thumb curl to 10 now. So now we're just going to go in and grab each one of these joints. I'll bring this over for right now. And let's bring up my skeleton so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to select each joint and just start rotating them in. Try to get a natural thumb curl. Well, that may be a little too much. And then I'll grab this joint down here, and perfect. Now we have my fingers curled inwards, maybe something like that. So now all the my joints are posed like they should be. My thumb curl set at 10. All my thumb joints are selected in my driven. All my rotate values are selected, and we can key it. So nothing new here, just selecting a few more things than we were used to in our foot control. So now I got a nice thumb curl on my hand control. Perfect. So let's just keep doing it for the index. And I'm just going to go, and you can either select them in your work plane like this. So I'm just going to hold down my shift key, select that first joint chain, select that second one, select that third one, and select that last one. If you want to be exact, you can come over in your outliner and just click and drag and select all your index finger joints, and we'll load driven. Now all my index joints are loaded into my driven. I'll click and drag to select them all. Click and drag to select all my rotate values. So everything's at their binding pose. My index curls at 0, and I'll just key that. Alright, let me select my arm control next. Let's set my index curl all the way to positive 10. And now let's go in and pose my finger. Okay, so I'm going to select that first joint chain. We'll bring it in. Okay, really nicely. I'll select the next one down, like so. And let's select that last one. Get a nice curl on that finger overall. Alright, may have to go in and kind of rotate in all kinds of axes. Alright, or axes, is that the plural? Who knows? Alright, key it. So now when my thumb or index curls at 10, my joints are curled in, and I have a nice index curl slider for me. And we just got to do it one more time for my pinky. So I'll select my pinky curl and my driven, and I'll go to my outliner and I'll select pinky A and just drag them all down, and we'll select all these joints. Or you can hold down control or whatever it is on the Mac and just select them one at a time. Just make sure they're all selected, and we'll load driven. So we have all my pinkies in. I'll click and drag all the joints in my driven, and I'll click and drag all the rotate values. So with my pinky curl selected in driver and all my rotate values selected for my joints, I'll key that initial starting pose, and then I'm going to grab it and set my grab my arm control, select my pinky curl, set it all the way to 10, and you guessed it, it's just a matter of selecting our individual joints and just rotating them in like he was curling them. Let me smooth this over. And your joints may not be perfectly lined up, so you're just going to have to eye it the way it should be, maybe. We don't want our fingers to break, so make sure when you're posing this, it's not like doing this number here. That'd be painful to see, but that'll be good. Okay, and let me grab that last joint chain. Oh, wrong one. There we go. And we'll just curl that thumb in just like that. Make sure that I'm not, oh, my pinky's broken. There we go. Perfect. I may want to bring this in a little bit more. Make sure I'm not breaking my finger. And my pinky's now posed. Make sure you set your driver value before you pose it, because you don't want your finger to reset and you have to repose everything. And we'll just key it with my pinky curl at 10. So now my basic arm controls all set up. I can get rid of that set driven key menu. So let's test it out. I can bring my arm up here, rotate my hands like so, extend the arm. There we go. My elbow's popping up really weird, but never fear. We have a nice twist control. Alright. And now we can set my curls, and we can curl it just like so. See if we can get that elbow twist going right. Looks like I messed up key in my elbow. Not only it doesn't rotate in the right direction. Maybe I should go back and fix that. I think I'll have to do that. Alright, so if you want to be exactly sure on how your elbow's twisting, maybe we can come back now, and we saw that our elbow wasn't twisting in the right direction. But that's just a simple matter of going back and keying it in the right direction here. Okay, so what we can do is I'm going to bring up my set driven key menu again. We're going to load my hand control as my driver. Okay, so that's actually load driver. Here's my I have my IK handle selected, no wonder. Load my arm control as my driver, and we're going to revisit my elbow twist. Okay, so what we want to do is our default value is fine. What we need to do is we need to basically fix the way our twist works for our elbow. So let's go back into elbow twist and set it back at -10. See how it flies in like that? Maybe we need to reset that value, or at the very least set our elbow twist at 10 to be a little bit different. So let's grab my IK handle again. We'll load that driven, and I'll select my twist, and then let's just go in and wrangle my twist so I can actually have the right kind of twist for my elbow here. Alright, that looks about right. Maybe I should exaggerate it just a little bit just in case, and we'll key that. So now hopefully my elbow twist will actually work in the right pose. Yeah, I have a better range of motion for my elbow now. So now when I bring my arm out, I can actually rotate the position of my elbow a little bit better. So that's just an instance of going back in and fixing your rig if it doesn't do the things you want it to. Now I get a nice elbow twist, the kind that we need. Alright, perfect. So let's take our time, and we're going to grab our scales and visibility, lock and hide them. So now we can tweak our default values. We set them to 0. We got a nice bind pose. And I'm glad I caught that elbow twist problem. Alright, great. That's just a good example of something that might happen to you guys. Perfect. Alright, so our arm's set up. I think we have every bit of function we need out of our arms. We're not going to create an IKFK switch or anything crazy like that. We pretty much have everything the way we need it. Let me bring my elbow down. Everything's working out pretty good. So I'm not going to do the right side again. Just follow the same steps. Just mirror everything over to make sure it matches up with the right side. So make sure you rename things with the right kind of name. See what I did there? And you should be set up with a good full body, upper body arm IK system. Alright, thanks.